About the fact that I should have worn a shirt without sleeves because
Yeah,
it's
what are you doing?
it's gonna be it's gonna be moist in this region.
No, you're gonna you need to get
But
that tan
summer forever.
all forever.
I'm gonna be
Sounds
grieving about you. You're the grievance today.
about about about
No, no,
fall versus
no,
summer.
no. It's Coach Nick. I'm you're the grievance.
I feel like that's happened before. This feels
Uh,
like deja vu.
Coach Nick is an autumn influencer, and I'm grieving. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Between Two Coaches. We're on a mission to make fitness more human, snark sold separately. I'm Coach Amanda. And Coach Nick, I feel like it's been a minute since, as you said earlier, it's just us gals. But I'm joined, as always, by my co host.
Coach Nick. I know it's been like forever. I feel like it's just us chatting again, and this is great. But thank you so much for joining us. We have a great episode today, just super great, because we're going to be talking about a very Nick episode. We did a very Amanda episode a little while ago, and we thought it would be fun to do a Nick episode. So it's a very Nick episode, a running love story. About belonging. So it'll be fun. We'll share. I'll share some of my journey. You can ask some
Thank you.
questions. But we're also going to before that we're going to do.
Wow,
if I let you talk,
it's nice to be a host on this podcast.
but before that, we're going to do some listener love. We got some questions again. We're going to share a review, maybe air a grievance. Who knows? But first, we're going to talk about real life because we have it in like a month. And Amanda, I saw you were in Chi-Town, and it looked like you were living a life.
Yes, my body and brain certainly feels like I've lived a whole life times many, many years. It was it was incredible. So in case you are new to the pod or maybe you didn't know this, I run for a brand called Brooks. And I am one of their running collective members. I had a great time. This is my second year in the crew. This weekend was orchestrated by their influencer marketing team, and I have no notes. It was inspiring. 150 people across North America
Wow.
coming together. I get to see people who I met last year, who I've met throughout the year at different races, who I don't get to see all the time. And it was a pleasure to hang out with them. They set us up in the Pendry, very, very nice hotel by not too far from the Bean and the Riverwalk, really close to there. And I hadn't been back to Chicago since the marathon a couple of years ago. So it was quite nice to be back in the city and to kind of see things that I wasn't able to see with people who I simply adore. A lot of running, a lot of content creation.
So much. I saw so many videos.
It's a lot. I could never record a reel again and I'd be happy. No, I'm just kidding. I actually, I have to admit, I really enjoy recording that kind of stuff because what I love about Brooks, and they know this, they really let me be myself, which is not for everyone. And that's okay. They let me be myself with my content, and they really do the same with every person they support on our Brooks Running Collective team. So it's a pleasure to be on their team, and to we got, what else did we get? We got gear throughout the weekend, ran a ton of miles, had some excursions.
You got a super water bottle that like tracks your water? Is that like
yes, we did get that water bottle. They partnered with the Brooks event and supported us. I will say I need, while I appreciate it, I need to be connected to as few devices as possible. So from here on out, I will be telling myself when it's appropriate to hydrate. I don't think I'll necessarily rely on the bottle to tell me that.
Well, you're gonna miss out because without relying on technology to tell you how to live,
Is
it's
it?
hard. I promise you. I don't, I don't know how they did it before, but if something doesn't tell me to move, I'm not gonna move.
I need to be told I'm unproductive by something that sits on my wrist and is
Sure.
generally inaccurate. All right. So in any event, yeah, had a great time. Thank you for asking.
Our brother podcast, Justin was there, right?
Actually, I forgot that we were siblings. He was the one who remembered when somebody else came up to me and brought up how much they appreciated Between Two Coaches, which I so appreciate hearing that. And I almost don't believe it when people say it to us. And we hear it, I mean, we hear it often, which is a compliment to
so sweet.
Probably Nick. It's definitely not me. Probably Nick. And he said, Justin was like, yeah, our sister podcast Between Two. I'm like, oh, forgot we were related for a minute, but happy to be here, brother.
Yeah. Well, that was great. And our sister podcast started back up again, Train Smart, Run Strong. So all our brothers and sisters are back.
They as they should. A huge part of the show was giving Coach Nick his flowers. And
Aww.
Did you listen? Did you listen to their podcast episode?
I did. I'm halfway through, but it was very nice.
Yes.
What they said so far. I am behind on podcasts because I have had a less than spectacular August. In the transition, look at this Tregway, where I just didn't run that much. And so my podcast listening is really dependent on how many miles I'm running, because that's where I do all my podcasting and driving in the car. And so I only go to work. I have the luxury of only having to go to the office 3 times every 10 days. So I blow through podcasts on the way 40-minute drive each way. And then when I run, but my August has been terrible, running wise. So I am like episodes behind on everything. So I'm catching up. But yeah, I was probably sick for most of August in the weirdest way. Let's see, I got poison ivy. I had some dermatitis on my eye, which whatever, but like
Not
it was
whatever.
Just like flaky eye stuff that was fun. I had a sore throat for most of the month and finally got diagnosed with strep throat for the second time in 3 months at the end of the month. So just finished all my antibiotics. But my mileage was in the trash because it was 95 degrees out, and let me tell you, it just feels terrible to go run outside with a pretty bad sore throat when it's like dehydrating and terrible out. So I just chose some days to just be like, let's rest, it'll go away, and it did. But that's okay. It was just my month. It was not the month I envisioned when I signed up for a marathon. Oh, and I signed up for a marathon. I'm running Indy in November. But so as soon as I signed up, I was ready to hit that train of training, and then
someone pulled the emergency brake. If you know, you know.
Yeah. So now we're in September, and yeah. So we're back, but yeah, it's fine. I mean, like I'm not gonna complain. I mean, life is life, and I had a long streak of not getting sick. Haven't had strep throat since I was a kid until 3 months ago. So whatever. But I'm excited to get back to training. Had a good week last week. Looking for a good week this week. The weather's getting better here. So yeah, it's fine. I said it's fine a lot, so it means it's probably not as fine as I think, but it's okay.
It's okay. Yes. And it's okay to acknowledge you had a shitty month with a shitty series of unfortunate events. What? It's giving what?
It's giving shitty.
Yes. Well,
it's fine.
It's not fine. I don't think it's fine.
No,
but
no,
you've
I
moved
know.
through it with a ton of grace,
Yeah.
and it's not lost on me that every single week we had a packed schedule of podcast episodes that we were recording where you are using your voice and your eyes, two areas that were attacked by the itises. So
Yeah.
it's like, and you showed up as a parent, and you showed up as a coach to your athletes, and you showed up to work, and you showed up as a husband, and you showed up as a friend. I know that because
Aw,
you and
thank
I are
you.
friends, and you definitely showed up for me.
Friends, I love it. No, thank you. That's very sweet, Amanda. I also probably could have healed a little better if pumpkin
Oh
coffee didn't
no,
come out, but then it did, and that, as you've told me various times,
caffeine's
it's
not
not
great for the
not the
vocal. Yeah,
greatest for
it's
the
not.
throat, but the pumpkin is good for the soul. So it was like weighing the lesser of two evils. Like, do I want a great
I don't
soul or do I
know.
want to have a voice?
I
Yeah,
maybe we'll revisit that. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure.
yeah, but yeah, that's my month. It sounds like we both had a good, fun month.
I think that your month takes the anti-fun cake, but I'm ready for you to have a fun fall-ish. 2 weeks pre-fall. For those of you who are keeping track, it is
Yes,
not fall yet. Okay,
it is in
well,
my house.
good thing. Good thing I don't live in your house. That's a good thing. That's a good thing. Um. Okay. Shall we move it along to? We want to do listener love first. Yes, Coach Nick. Yeah. All
Yeah,
right.
yeah, let's do it.
So we have a question. We have a couple of questions from Tori at our between two coaches at gmail.com inbox. And as a reminder,
Ooh,
feel free to send questions there and let us know what you're loving and what you'd love to learn more about as well in that that inbox email address. Words are hard after 5 p.m. Eastern time. So you
yeah,
heard me.
they are.
You heard what you heard. So let's start with question number 1. What are your thoughts on zone 2 training or heart rate based training in general? And I will say before we pass it over to Coach Nick, because I think he speaks so eloquently on this, is that in case you missed it, you're going to want to listen to our Need or Nah episode with Coach Elizabeth Scott and Coach Tony for more about our feelings on zone 2 training, right? We went over that there. We did? Yeah, I think we did.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we did. Yeah.
Anything that you want to add or highlight in that conversation?
Where I always come from this is that they're zone 2 heart rate based training both have validity, but I think a lot of the reason zone 2 became as popular as it did is because a lot of runners need some sort of validation, whether they uh, accomplished their run or not, right? Like, it's not good enough to have 5 miles on log and do it. Was it the right pace? Did I run the right pace to reach my goal? Did I run the right pace to gain fitness today? Because I think a lot of runners struggle to understand how much easy running helps. So they need to make sure they're doing it right. And so when coaches would always respond with, "Oh, well, conversational pace, like you shouldn't feel too hard, like, you can slow down," runners would be like, fight against it and be like, "Oh, but like, what's the number? Give me the number. 903, 1107. What is the number?" And coaches didn't want to give it because there is no exact number. You know how you feel each time. After a workout, it's different than after a long run than after just an easy day. So zone 2 became a thing. Oh, well, if I'm in zone 2 and my Garmin tells me I ran 100% of my run in zone 2, well, then I accomplished my mission because I'm supposed to be in zone 2. So there we go. I can share this on Instagram, put a little green check mark next to it to show that I hit 100%. If it's 99, I can justify why it wasn't. Oh, I saw a dog and spiked my heart rate for 8 seconds. So that's why I'm at 99 instead of 100. So, we need that. So I fight against this because running is about being uncomfortable and understanding doing things that make you uncomfortable, like finishing a run at 5.99 miles instead of 6. Even though it's very easy to go run and jog an extra 0.1 down the block, you could just stop at 5.99 because that's your door. and you could be done, and it's uncomfortable, but it's changed literally nothing in your life. And the only thing that could happen is in that point oh 0.01, you could sprain your ankle, trip, fall, anything for what? Nothing. So being uncomfortable is helpful for runners. So if running by conversational pace or trying to figure out the right effort is uncomfortable to you, try it. Keep trying it until you get it right, because you will become a better runner when you can learn how to run without all these factors telling you whether it's right or wrong. That's what happens with all these technologies, is that they now everyone is reliant on it, some tool telling you whether you're doing it right or not. People ran for years without heart rate based monitors on their wrists, without zone 2 charts or whatever, right? So that's my stance. There's science behind it, it makes sense, but most runners need to be more uncomfortable.
The exercise in not being so hung up on the metrics and really tuning into how your body feels is tough for people. And I think we should give that man, the one across from me, a microphone, because what he said, yeah, that's Coach Nick. What he said is 100% accurate. Y'all don't want to, you want to do the uncomfortable things, quote unquote, uncomfortable things within your comfort zone. And that's not really where you improve. So those are the thoughts we have.
Well, why don't you take question 2, so I'll read it.
Oh, okay. Thank you for that.
We'll flip it, switch. We're doing something different here. We're gonna share the load on between two coaches. Good. Question the second? What are your favorite strength training exercises for stronger, healthier running?
Okay, so when it comes to strength training, it depends on the runner and their history, and that's how I program strength training. But there are certain things that generally pop up in everyone's program if they're working with me. So every runner will have a single leg calf raise, and or isometrics, and it will be with a heavy weight, because we know our calves take a ton of load, anywhere from, I believe the studies have, at least road runners, between 2 and maybe 6 times our body weight. You can fact check me on that. I think it's a little higher if you're running on trail. So that would be one exercise. The other one that everyone has is Copenhagen planks, another anti-fan favorite that we all need to be doing more of. I like to incorporate some sort of lower body squat variation and hinge variation, a split squat, a single leg deadlift, really wonderful to get runners who, since running is a single leg sport, to get runners good at being on one leg. And I also like to make sure that they have actually a row, so that pull motion really supporting the arm drive. And then everything else is kind of specific to, at least when you work with me, your history of injury, your history period. I think I covered it. And plyometrics is a whole other thing.
Whole other world. But for strength training, love that answer. Those are Copenhagen's are my least favorite thing in the history of the world. So yeah,
they need to be done. Yes. So I think that about covers it for our listener love.
Thanks.
Great questions, Tori. Review. Okay. Amanda and Nick are the coaching duo I didn't know I needed in my life. I've been listening since episode 1, and this is one of those podcasts I look forward to every single week and usually listen to the episode the day it drops. Their snark, sold separately, wit, and all-around good humor make me smile like an idiot while I'm in the gym or driving to work. Thank you, Coach Nick. Wow, just Coach Nick? Or did you copy and paste it?
Oh, I don't know. Maybe it cut off.
It's weird how you just thanked yourself, Coach Nick, when you put that review in the Google Doc. It's weird. I'm feeling.
I don't know what happened.
like maybe this
Um,
reviewer also said Amanda. It's possible. I
I
Yeah,
don't know what
whatever.
happened.
Okay. It's what in case you missed it, this episode is all about Nick, so he's starting early. He's starting real fucking early. This is by Fraggle Wrangler, Fraggle, like a
Yeah.
bagel Wrangler. Love you mean it, Coach Nick. You are my grievance, which is our next topic because you keep putting me in the corner, and I'm not happy about it.
One
You
puts Amanda in the
you
corner.
can. Loved that review. Thank you so much for listening. And as y'all know, hit 5 stars and leave us a review, and you will be loved by us unconditionally.
Yeah. Thank you for the
Thank you.
review.
It does help the podcast a ton. So we really do appreciate it. Thank you for sharing the podcast and reviewing the podcast.
Right. Are we grieving? Is that me? Did you grieve about me? Is that our grievance?
No, because I'm afraid I'll have to continue being your friend and your co-host and just your bestie for the restie. So I'm not going to grieve you because that would be short-sighted for me. Why don't you share with us something that you've been feeling lately?
Oh, yeah, I will. Uh Grieving. So we've been a month. I've had a lot of observing of social media and just
With the eye that doesn't have the
I know we
dermatitis, just one eye.
yeah, I just want I was like this if you could see on the camera.
It wouldn't be
They
a
protecting it.
podcast
Well,
episode
they
if I wasn't making fun of your ailments. Okay, go ahead.
true. Or my yeah. So we had our nutrition night, need or not, and we talked about supplements, and I've seen a lot of runfluencers doing the thing that has irked me for a while, which is, you know, it's one thing to take supplements yourself. Cool, that's your journey. Go off. It's another thing to push supplements to runners to say like, hey, do this without really, sometimes them not being third party tested or having any testing or those types of things. And then there's the one where you sort of push these supplements or let's call it magic berries or whatever you want to call it, where you tell people how much they're going to
Mhm.
improve your running,
And it's
whether
definitely
it's
not,
your
I didn't mean to interrupt your
VO2.
grievance, but I want to say this is not just the running community.
Oh
This
no.
is fitness influencers in general. I don't need to hear about how your green powder is changing your deadlifts. It's just not something we need to be doing. Okay, keep going.
Yeah, and no, it's just a frustration around this. I like we all know why this supplement is being pushed by this runfluencer or this influencer or fitness influencer, right? It's because they're getting paid for it and they're just not telling you, right? No one's doing nothing. When you see someone with a large following promoting a product, unless they go out of their way to make sure to tell you they're not sponsored by it for no reason whatsoever, which they probably wouldn't do if they were sponsored by it because that's borderline illegal, though no one's going to catch them. But they probably won't do that if they're actually getting paid and to tell you they're definitely not. So if they're not saying that, then they're getting paid whether they put an ad in there, whatever. So when you see them talk about how it's improved my fitness by this much on some random metric, also that really most of the time isn't even a metric, like Strava score is up 30 points. Like,
I
the
didn't even
fuck is
know
the
that
Strava
existed.
score?
What
Like,
is that?
stop. Like, it does. I don't know. It's some bar that tells you how fit you are. Like, and nothing, and this is not a knock on Strava, but every app has some tool that tells you how fit you are, right? And that's what you're using to tell the community that your supplement that you now take has improved this random website score of your fitness. Like, stop it. Like, it's fine to have supplements, it's fine to take them. I don't even care if you promote them like, hey, I take this, why don't you? That's fine, you can do that, it's your own platform. When you start making outlandish claims about how much it's going to improve your fitness, and it's always fitness, right? They're not going to say, oh, unless they're a lifestyle coach, they're not going to be like, oh, it just helps me feel better, sleep. It's always like, well, your VO2 max will go up 33%. Like, stop. Like, this is the stuff that needs to stop, or really it's not going to stop. So what really needs to happen is the community, all of us, need to stop buying into it and believing it. We see that garbage. you don't have to call them out, but definitely don't buy the product, and maybe give a little less support to the person who's doing this craziness, because they're going to keep doing it if they keep seeing it works. So that's my grievance. Everyone, you are doing great on your own. You don't need some special berry or some magical supplement you've never heard of that has improved people's VO2 max by a million.
Here, here. I think we've brought this up before. Correct me if I'm wrong. But the more you engage with content such as that, the more it appears in our algorithms. That's not cool. So the other thing that I hear from people, and they recognize that it's like an irrational thought, they think that if they unfollow these accounts, like they're going to notice. And I'm just like, and if they did, what? Oh, they would see in their metrics that I lost 300 followers because I'm promoting a supplement that isn't third party tested and it doesn't actually line up with improving fitness, but I exist in a thin body and I have a huge community of followers, so I have the right. Oh, okay. Let's just not do
Yeah,
that. Let's not engage with this content
let's not.
anymore. Like, just unfollow them. Why are we doing that? So anyway,
Nope. Yeah,
we
agreed.
did. We sure did. I think it's time to
Ooh, for today's topic.
He's very excited. He is so excited, everyone. Nick's story, and I think that we got to start at the very beginning, which would be
Yeah, it's
baby
like
Nick.
baby Nick. I didn't know, but baby Nick was what I was
7 pounds,
told, a tough child.
6 ounces.
Well, 6.
Stop it. Me
7,
too.
whatever. But yeah, samesies. But no, baby Nick was tough. I heard growing up, but it's okay. Then he grew up, and he, childhood for me. So I'll preface this by saying my I want to tell a little bit. Amanda had a story that she shared her version of like an experience through life, and I wanted to share a little bit of a different experience of my running. How I found running, how it's helped my life, how it's changed my life, how it's been a part of it, how it's been this constant in my life. For any of you who've seen Lost, that's literally my favorite episode. I love talking about the constant that exists in your life. So that's really where we're going for today's episode. Hope you stick around for the rest. But so for me, childhood before running, right? So I played a lot of sports. I was not a specialized kid in some sport. It was I'd play basketball and I was wearing glasses when I was a kid and they get knocked off and then they'd call timeout and we'd all stop and I'd still play because I liked the ball. I would play, tennis. I'd play baseball. I couldn't hit the ball at all, but I got hit by the ball a lot. So I always got on base because people wanted to throw at me. I don't know why. And I played right field because that's where you put people who don't have any skills at when they're 9 or 10 years old because no one hits the ball to right field. So I played sports upon sports. All I did was play sports, and I loved team sports. I loved being part of a team. Soccer was big in New Jersey. Everyone played soccer, and I played a lot of it. I always played defense, but I loved running up and down the field. Running was in all these sports. I was running the bases. I was running all over court in tennis, even though the other person was probably standing still to return every one of my shots because I was hitting it right to them. But that was my childhood, and so the tough part for me before running was that a lot of these sports I didn't really fit in with, like with the vibe of sports. Like I was as a young age, I was a very sensitive male. I was raised very much by my mom, and took in a lot of her, nurturing of sensitivity, nurture versus nature, but I got a lot of that in me. And as a boy growing up in the 90s, the male were not really that way. And so a lot of team sports, I didn't fit in right with the vibe of the coaches or the screaming or the teams or just the vibe of the team, right? It just didn't relate. And so, I would end up playing a lot of like pickup football with friends and stuff like that. And then finally, it was my freshman year of high school, and my friend sort of dared me to do running. And he was like, I joined cross country and look how fit I am. And, just boys being boys. Like, and I was like, oh, well, then I'll join track. And so I it was like an Olympic year. I can't remember when it was, or right around it. And so I was on the internet looking up all the track events, and I was like, oh, I'll be a pole vaulter and javelin thrower because that's what I'm gonna do. And so I walked up to practice, and the head coach still remember this. So I walk right up to him, and I'm like about to say pole vault javelin. He's like, distance runner. I'm like, what? Like, no, what? Javelin and pole vault. And like then the distance coach just walks over. He's like, welcome. What's your name? And I'm like, no, pole vault javelin. So
I'm
so I
just
became a distance
picturing
runner
this.
just based on that one conversation. So I wish I'd see that coach again. It was so funny. And so sorry. So I became a distance runner, and
The
I
end.
was the end. And thanks for joining it. So no, I was very bad my freshman year, right? Like, so it wasn't like love at first sight for running. It was, oh, running, okay. And we'd go on group runs, and I would always cut the runs or cut them short or go somewhere and sit down and relax, not finish runs, not do workouts. I wasn't really super involved. It wasn't like, oh, I'm a runner now, I'm going to be great at this thing and I love it and it's changed my life forever. No, that didn't happen at first. It was more of, oh, yeah, like it's a sport, so I'm going to do it. But I still thought I'd hope to be a basketball player, and I was going to try out again my sophomore year. I left out the freshman year. I tried out for basketball, and I the last day of practice, everyone was like scrimmaging, and my glasses got knocked off, and someone stepped on them, and the coach called timeout, and I sort of knew I wasn't making the team after that, and then got told I was the wrong height. I was the second tallest kid on the team,
To
so
be fair to you, there
sort
are
of
a
just
ton of
got
adult men who are your age now, Nick, who believe that they are professional basketball players. So please
that's
give
true.
give yourself grace.
I am, but so I sort of realized, but I still, even when I did distance running, I still thought I'd go back to basketball. Um, and then what sort of happened is that summer, the distance coach was very involved. He was fresh out of college and he was young, so he'd run with the team. And so all summer long, I came to practices and got to know the team, the distance team, the cross country team, because we were getting ready for cross country. And, I just found a coach who really cared. And he kept sitting with me. He's like, if you run with me for a year and like train, like we will get you where you're going to go. Like we will make big progress. And, so I just showed up and just did the work. And I do long runs. I try and stick with the team. I ended up running a lot of the long runs with the faster kids, but like got to know them and got to enjoy the camaraderie all summer long of showing up every night at like 6 p.m. just to go for a run, easy runs, long runs, whatever. And so really, really enjoyed it. And then cross country, I just really felt a part of a team. For any of you who've done cross country, it is a super fun team sport because everyone matters. 5 people score, but 7 people displace, and you're all competing against hundreds of teams in high school. And it's just this fun journey. You all show up to some park, and it's a crisp fall morning.
Triggered.
The pumpkins are everywhere, and so I finally felt a part of a team. And so running in high school and college, it felt like I belonged, right? Like I struggled a lot as a kid of not feeling where I belong in this world, and like in sports or just in friendships and stuff. And so as I went through high school, I did, after a year, sort of hit that threshold. I started really improving my sophomore year. I had a really great sophomore year, and just the team became friends. Like we would hang out. I drive kids every day after practice to go to 7-Eleven and get a Slurpee because that's what I did. And so it just felt like I belonged. And I rolled that into like college, where I ran at Monmouth University, became part of a team, and like it felt so cool to show up before school started to do your 2-week camp. And so it's just you and usually the football team, but like we didn't really hang out with them. But like, so the cross country team all there, and you're just hanging out with all these kids on the team, seniors, juniors, sophomores, and yourself, new freshmen. And you get to know a team and you're a part of it, and you're hanging out and you're doing runs together. Again, it's just this camaraderie. And so, I enjoyed being a part of this community and group of people. And so, what's fun about college is like I even coach one of my college teammates now. Like all these years later, she reached out a couple earlier this year, and she was a sprinter, and now she's a distance runner. And so I'm coaching her. And so like this community of like, having this. And so, I eventually accomplished a lot in my running, but like my senior year, I sort of stepped away from running, and it was nothing about not feeling like I belonged or a part of a team, but school. I was not the put me in an environment of no like structure where I like free to stay up whenever I want and go to class whenever I want. And I went to a school that was very big on attendance as part of your grade. Like show up and you probably get a C. And I would miss a lot of classes because I was like, I knew the stuff. And so I did not always get the grade because of my attendance. And so my senior year, I stopped because I really had to focus on my studies and get this thing done so I could graduate and have like an actual degree. So I stopped. And then that stop ended up lasting 8 years. And so I sort of lost touch with running, lost touch with, you know, the love of the sport. I would still follow along, right? Because I still watch the Olympics and distance running, but I felt lost with the community and people, all the running friends I had from college. I didn't really keep in touch with. I didn't have that community, those friends. It was hard. It was hard, right? Like, and so while I was, having friendships outside of running, it sort of felt like I didn't have this place I belonged the same way I did when I was a runner. And so in 2010, we moved to Maryland and I started up running again just because I wanted to lose some weight. And I was like, cool, I'll just do this thing. And so then I had this goal of like wanting to run a marathon before I was 30. And so I was 29 and a half. And I was like, oh, I'll find a marathon and I'll just do it this fall. And so the one thing I didn't realize about Maryland compared to New Jersey is it's much more humid and hot, even though it's only 3 hours south. So it was training through a summer that I wasn't used to. And it was brutal, and I was new at running, and I was doing all the things we struggle with as a runner of like comparing to where I was as a 19-year-old in college, but accomplished it, ran the marathon, and sort of got hooked again. And so then I met a local running group and immediately felt found again, right? Like, so I met friends, teammates, people who all shared the same passion, right? We felt a part of a group again, felt like I belonged again, right? And like friends we would, that group run, if you all do a group run and know what like, that vibe is like where you hang out, you go for a run, you grab food afterwards, you like, you're a part of something more than yourself, right? Like community, I always tell it to my athletes, like is so important to me. And it's been built through all these years of like what running is to me, what it's done for me. Like it, it's being a part of something that's bigger than just you, right? And so I've met friends who I met through this running group who then like I met their significant other and they met my significant other and then they became friends and then we had kids and they had kids and now all of us are friends and we'll hang out, the 8 of us. And like that all just is because I started running and because I ran again in this act 2 and because I met them through a running group. And now I have this friendship that like transcends running. Like neither of us are in the same shape we ever were. When we hang out, we don't even talk about running, but we met through it. And
that's very healthy.
So much
that
of
seems
my
like
life,
it's a very
I know.
healthy. You have a healthy relationship with running to the point where the people you met through the sport, you don't have to talk about the sport in order to feel connected. I meant to ask you when you were talking about the marathon, what ended up being your first marathon?
Wine Glass. You
Sure
run Wine Glass
have.
last year, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I loved it. I love the medal. I love the vibe up there. I want to go back because the area is
Beautiful.
really nice.
Yeah.
I died at mile 20. Right
Oh, you
there.
came back to life.
You could probably find my corpse on the side of the road. And then I did the funny thing where I was still wearing glasses at the time, and it was raining.
Goodness.
And so at mile 21, I saw Kelly, and I handed her my glasses, and I was like, "It's too bad I can't see." And then the last 5 miles, if anyone's run Wine Glass,
Yes.
a lot of turns. Like the first 20 or 1 are like slight little veers, and then the last 5 is like, and I'm like, I can't see anything, and I'm like hoping these people tell me where to go. And I made it to the finish line, but like I don't know where I ran. I probably wouldn't even. I wouldn't even remember anything because I kind of couldn't even see it. That's how blind I am with my glasses. It was such a weird decision. I've only done it once ever in my life, taking my glasses off on a run. Now I wear contacts, so it's fine. But yeah, so no, you're right. I think that's super healthy. Like find people through your passion, but being able to transcend your passion with them, like that's super healthy and cool. Like you can still talk about the thing that binds you, but like to grow past it, that's healthy. Like even when you make running friends, like if you can bring them, go out with them outside of running, and like sure you can talk about a marathon, but you can also hang out as human beings and like talk about each other's lives and like be there. And that's super cool. And like that's the community that you get from having a passion and finding passionate people that link. Like you can meet a runner and all of a sudden like you have something to start and you have something to build on. And then yeah, everyone's not going to be a connection, but when we share this passion, there's more chances, right? And that's super cool. Um, yeah, and so from moving to Maryland, as any of you people like me, maybe a little more introverted, tough meeting people, it's hard to meet people. I didn't want to meet people at my job. That's why I moved here. I sort of have this boundary at work where I work, and I don't really friend people. It's my
That's
thing, right?
smart.
So it was hard. Yeah, and so it was hard to it was hard to meet people, and so running became the people I know. Like here I am in Maryland 15, 14 years later next month, and most of the people I've met are through running, whether it's running friends or friends I've met because of runners, or just people who I like see and I'm like, oh, I know you at a race, or I know you from this, or you wearing a Garmin and we're best friends now. Any of that, right? That's so cool. Like it helped me feel like I belonged in Maryland because I brought back running, right? And I don't know what my life would have been like without starting running again here. I don't know how many people I would have met, how well we would have. We probably might have moved back to Jersey and not felt like we had a home here. Um, and so, you know, so it's sort of like it grew when I took steps, sort of, to share this love and passion for running with others. And so, that is like what's big in this act of my life, and that's how I sort of started becoming a coach, right? Because community means a lot to me and has meant a lot to me, but like being able to share that with others and share that like there's meaning beyond the clock, that running is transformational, and transformational in a way of like not just your fitness or your health, but like the people you can meet if you give yourself a chance. And like and to show like people as a coach, it's not to like, it's to show and help people see like that transformation they're on, right? And like to encourage, like you don't have to be a social runner, but there is this community that exists. And even if you don't embrace the community, like social media has done such a great job of like helping people feel like they belong because they run. Like it is so fun to see like people post something and like others being like, oh man, yeah, I tried that, or I have those same feelings, or we're living the same life, or we're doing all because we're running and we're sharing our running journey. And it's so cool. Like so many people probably felt lost, like feel more belong because of this community social media has helped us create, or the running community, which started first before social media. So social media has just been a byproduct of it, right? Like we've all existed in this community in real life, and now we're sharing it online. Just we have more reach to people we never used to see. I wouldn't get to see you on a run ever in Maryland if you're in New York City, but social media lets us connect. And now we're doing a podcast. Um, and so, I think, running has always helped me sort of feel like I belong, right? Like, and that's sort of this story, right? It's a love story of finding this passion through a dare, of like starting this thing up, and like look at 24 years later, it's been the biggest constant in my life besides my mom and my sister and some of my family. Like this is the thing I've done the most in my life. Back to that constant. Like this is the thing that all these memories for the last 24 years, more than that, 28, because I started running in 1996. But I mean, I haven't run every year, but for 28 years, I've been a runner and been involved and been able to connect about running. And like, it's been a part of who I am. It's like,
So
it's
beautiful.
75% of my life. And like, growing up, I was this sensitive kid and I didn't always fit in with other males and those sports. And so, but something about being on the track or in the roads just felt like I belonged, right? Like just on a run, just feeling like I belong in this sport. It had nothing to do with the times. I was lucky to have some genetics to run well early, but like that wasn't where my love came, that I'm doing it 28 years later, because at age 16 or 15, I ran well. Like, I would have burned out in this sport a long time ago. I know many people who ran high school and college and never came back. Um, but like this, like felt like this thing in my that was meant for my life, right? Like, I found it this way, but like I'm so happy it found me. And like, you know, whether I was alone or sharing with others, I always felt seen. Like as a runner, I just felt like, people could understand, can see what's going on, like can hear and understand me better than I could like when I was sort of floating around in sports or not doing this sport. And so, as a kid, as an adult, I struggle with ADHD, right? And so running really, really helped me sort of focus a lot, right? I don't know how many other people have stories of ADHD sort of helping them, but like for me, I struggled a lot in school. And when I became a runner, I got a lot better because it helped me focus. Like when I'm running, yeah, my mind's racing a little more than probably the average runner. I do notice the dog with the fluffy tail or the blue car, but like I also can able to stay focused on the run and just like focus on my life, right? And so, on top of that, it's just giving me belonging, friendship, joy. I found my wife through running in college. I have kids because I found my wife in college. I'm a running coach. I've been a part of the running community. I've been a part of running groups and running teams and brands. And, it's been something that can help challenge me in my life, right? Like, how cool is that? Like, this thing that, like, no matter where I am in my life, like, it's helping me challenge myself in some growth way. So, when I always say it's so much more than a number on a clock, it's a love story for me. It's how I felt finally found in this crazy world. Like we all have something that grounds us and something that sort of makes us feel like this is the thing that like none of this is saying like I'm obsessed with running and like I need it to exist, but it is saying because of running, it's been so consistently constant in my life that like it's been this thing that always grounds me when things aren't going well in life. I can go for a run. When I can meet a running friend, we can talk about running. Like I can share memories from my old parts of my life. Like I can remember the times when I was lost and like that I went for a run or that I found this sport. Like it is this thing that just exists all throughout 75% of my life that's made me feel like it is who I am and how I fit
It's
into this
very
world.
telling to me that we just came off a month of you not being consistent in the act of running. And yet we are talking about your love for running. And that love did not change. And that tells me that, you not only do you love the sport, but you have a sustainable relationship with it. And that it's also given you the opportunity to be comfortable in the parts of your life that aren't related to running. So that is a love story. It's giving the Notebook.
Yeah, and so like it's hard like when you become a professional in the sport, like you have to be able to sort of disconnect and like still love the sport enough that you can like coach people and like be invested in their journey when your
Mm-hmm.
journey isn't going well, right? Like so that shows like people a lot of people become like coaches or other things and like if their running is going poorly they don't know how to exist in this space and they struggle to connect with their athletes and like I hear stories all the time and so like you have to have that healthy relationship with your sport too and it has to belong in your life for reasons that are more than success, right? Like when the good times, sure, everything we love everything when it's going well, but like a running journey of 28 years has been ups and downs and all arounds. This is I call this sort of act 3 where COVID sort of knocked me on my butt and was struggling to train and I'm still not giving up even I'm in my 40s of chasing some big times and so like I'm rebuilding and but like I keep doing it because I love to be a part of it. I love the people I get to meet. I love going to a race and like connecting with the community and new people just because we run. Like what a cool thing to meet so many people in my life that I've gotten the joy of meeting and do a podcast with you because I run, right? Like it gives so much love to my life. I think the hope from this story is like relating to people because anyone who's been doing this sport for a long time and keeps coming back has this love story in there and has a sense of like how running grounded them or felt helped them belong, right? Moms who started running after they had kids to find that place out in the world at that time, right? They eventually found how it helped them feel certain ways. I'm not going to stereotype how anyone should feel, but like it's each one will have a story of how it helps them feel belonged and how it feels their place in the world or the people, the moms they've met who also run and now they're connecting at 4 a.m. for a group run and creating a community there. Like those stories about it, those bring me so much joy. Someone's PR, wonderful. You worked really hard for it. I'm going to celebrate that for my athletes. I'm going to celebrate that for the community. But the stories of love, the stories of people doing this sport for so long, and like all those wonderful things that have happened, and how it helped change their life and transform their life. That's what I love so much about this sport. That's what the coolest part is for me.
I love hearing you talk about things you're passionate about. And it's really, it's nice to hear all the acts of your running story and the way that it started as really not something that you were totally down for.
You know what it was? Like, I mean, I thought track was like, oh, those field events, and that's what I came to do. I did try and throw a javelin one day, many years after I
And
started.
you're like,
and
that distance coach
like,
was right. I should not be throwing that.
I mean, I almost injured myself the way it flopped down. I was like, the physics don't make sense, and they're like, no, the technique doesn't make sense. I'm like, all right, got it. So no, and I never tried pole vault. It was a silly idea. I would never handle that.
You trusted the experts to tell you.
No, yeah. Well, I don't know if he sort of just looked at my body type, but that's fine. He's still right. But yeah, I think I wanted to tell this story because I think it's something a lot of runners, if you could take a step back, and not just runners, but anyone that has a passion about something, whether it's fitness or anything, like you can find this story in your life. And sometimes in those toughest moments, finding that perspective, like when I have tough running moments, I can pull back to like 14-year-old Nick showing up to practice and being like javelin thrower, and him being like distance runner. And like, just like I didn't love it at first, but like finding my way to love it because of the people, because of the coaches, because of because of the camaraderie, the team, like all that stuff. And like, it's shown up throughout with running groups I've joined and other things, and the running community on social media. And so like, we all have that story. Like in your toughest moments, just look back and find out, we say why you run, but like, not just why you run, but what running has done for you that you've probably forgotten over time. Like when the person you were when you started running to who you are now is a transformation journey there that you should take some time and look back and just enjoy and just acknowledge that journey and enjoy it.
Yes. That's the celebration. Ooh.
Yeah.
Do you want me to ask you the 3 questions we ask all of our guests?
Oh, no, that's for them. We don't.
It's
too hard for us. I don't want to.
We're about to have our first fight of the last 10 minutes.
No, well, thank you for letting me, for everyone still listening, thanks for listening to the story. And Amanda, thanks for letting me kind of share a little bit about me for the podcast guests, and just about the running journey I've went through that I think a lot of people have too.
Your gratitude for the sport is inspiring, and it's a pleasure to listen to you speak on it. So there's no thank you to me. It's to you.
Thank you. Still.
Okay, you're welcome.
Did we do it?
We did it. We did it is right.
Oh, yeah, thanks. This was great. We have some fun stuff coming up ahead. We will definitely share about it in social media. We have some fun, another series maybe coming in October, a fun guest this month, some more Nick and Amanda time. It's all coming. And thank you all for submitting all your amazing topics to Amanda. We're definitely gonna go through those, and we're gonna have a little sit down to finish out the rest of the year and what we're gonna do. And you can send more topics to the between two coaches at Gmail, or just send questions. We love questions. It really helps us, have something to talk about in our listener love segment. So thanks everyone for all that stuff.
Yeah. And as we said earlier, your support for the show can be through sharing this podcast with a friend, rating the show, sharing it on social media. We love that. We repost it. And also we also have a buy me a coffee link. That's a financial way to support the show. And we would simply love to have you here next time. And again, you can reach out to us at any time at that Gmail, betweentwocoaches@gmail.com. We hope you enjoyed this episode. I know I did. And we'll see you guys soon.
Bye.